If you claimed Social Security before your full retirement age and you're still working, or you're even thinking about picking up a part-time job, there's one number you need to know right now. In 2026, if you're under full retirement age, the Social Security Administration will start withholding your benefits the moment your earnings cross $24,480. We'll go over that line, and for every $2 you earn above it, they take back $1 of your Social Security check. Most people don't find out until the deposit lands smaller than they expected. And by then it can feel like a punishment for doing something as simple as picking up extra hours. So let's make sure that never happens to you. These numbers aren't guesses. Well, they come straight from the Social Security Administration's official 2026 rules, under what's called the Retirement Earnings Test. There are actually two limits this year, and which one applies to you depends entirely on your birth year and when your full retirement age falls. If you're under full retirement age for all of 2026, your number is $24,480. If you're reaching full retirement age at some point during 2026, your number jumps all the way up to $65,160. Mixing those two numbers up is the single most common mistake people make when they try to estimate their own risk, and it's an easy mistake to make. Because most articles online only mention one number and never tell you which situation it actually applies to. Here's the rule in plain terms. If you're collecting Social Security retirement benefits and you're under your full retirement age, Social Security is watching your earnings, not your pension, not your investment income, not withdrawals from your IRA or your 401k, just your wages from a job or your net profit if you're self-employed, including bonuses, commissions, and vacation pay. That distinction matters more than almost anything else in this video, so keep it in mind as we go. If you're under full retirement age for the entire year and you earn more than $24,480, Social Security withholds $1 in benefits for every $2 you earn above that number, if you're reaching full retirement age sometime during 2026. Well, you get a much more generous limit of $65,160, and the penalty is lighter too, only $1 withheld for every $3 over the limit. And only your earnings from the months before your birthday even count. Earnings from after your birthday simply don't factor in at all. Here's what most people miss completely. Once you actually reach your full retirement age, this entire rule disappears. You could earn six figures the very next month, and your Social Security wouldn't be touched at all. And here's the part that should actually calm you down. Money withheld under this test is not gone forever. When you reach full retirement age, Social Security recalculates your benefit and gives you credit for those withheld months, as if you had claimed a little bit later than you actually did. Your monthly check goes up permanently from that point forward. It's a delay, not a loss. But that delay can still create real problems with your cash flow in the years. You're actually counting on that money, which is exactly why you need to plan around it instead of just hoping it works out. More people are in this exact situation than ever before because more Americans over 65 are staying in the workforce than at any point in decades, whether that's by choice or by necessity. Let's put real numbers on this with two people, both using the actual 2026 figures, so you can see how differently this plays out depending on your age and your timing. Meet Patricia. She's 64 years old, she claimed Social Security at 62, and she receives $1,800 a month, which comes out to $21,600 a year. She recently picked up part-time work as a substitute teacher, earning about $28,000 a year, because the extra income helps cover rising costs. Patricia is under full retirement age for all of 2026, so her limit is $24,480. Now meet Robert. He's turning 67, his full retirement age, in September of 2026. He's still consulting. And he expects to earn around $80,000 this year before his birthday. Robert falls under the more generous $65,160 rule, and only his earnings from January through August actually count toward it. Same rule, two very different outcomes based almost entirely on where each of them sits relative to their own full retirement age. Let's walk through exactly what happens to each of them. We'll start with Patricia. Her earnings of $28,000 are $3,520 above her limit, at $1 withheld for every $2 over. That works out to $1,760 withheld from her Social Security over the year. Her annual benefit of $21,600 drops to $19,000. $840. Here's the part that surprises people. Social Security usually doesn't shave a little bit off every single check. Instead, it often withholds entire monthly checks in a row until the owed amount is fully recovered. That means Patricia could see 1 or 2 full months where her deposit is $0 instead of a small reduction spread evenly across the year. Same total impact. But a very different feeling on her bank statement when a check she was counting on simply doesn't show up. Now Robert, let's say he earns $60,000 of that $80,000 total before he turns 67 in September. For those 8 months before his birthday, his prorated limit comes out to roughly $43,440. His overage is about $16,560. At $1 withheld for every $3 over, that's about $5,520 withheld, but only from the benefits he was owed during those months before his birthday. Starting the month he turns 67, every single dollar he earns becomes irrelevant to Social Security. He could triple his consulting income in October and his check would not move at all. Notice the difference in how generous each rule is. Patricia's ratio is $1 for every $2, a much steeper penalty than Robert's $1 for every $3. That's intentional. Social Security wants to ease people gradually into full earning freedom as they approach full retirement age, not cut them off all at once the moment they turn 62. Here's the number both of them should actually care about the most. What happens once they reach full retirement age? Social Security doesn't just take the withheld money and forget about it. It recalculates each person's benefit as though they had claimed a little bit later than they actually did, which permanently raises their monthly check for the rest of their life. It's not a full dollar-for-dollar refund right away, but it compounds. The bigger your benefit, the bigger that increase is in real dollars every single month for as long as you live. Which means the true cost of the earnings test is smaller than the sticker shock of a missing check might suggest. Now, 3 things that change this math, and this is where most explanations stop short. First, the first year special rule. If you retired partway through 2026, Social Security has a monthly version of this test just for your first year, even if your full year earnings look like they blow past the limit. You can still get a full check for any month your earnings were $2,040 or less if you're under full retirement age, or $5,430 or less in the months before reaching full retirement age. This protects people who earned a big salary for half the year at their old job, then genuinely retired for the rest of it. Second, self-employment has its own trap. If you're self-employed, Social Security also looks at what it calls substantial services, generally more than 45 hours a month in your business, or between 15 and 45 hours if it's a highly skilled occupation. Work more than that, and Social Security may decide you weren't actually retired that month, no matter what your net profit looked like on paper. Third, and this is important, what does not count? Pensions, annuities, investment income, interest, capital gains, and withdrawals from ERAs or 401ks are not part of this earnings test at all. That distinction alone can completely change someone's retirement income strategy, especially if they are trying to decide between drawing down their savings or taking on a part-time job to bridge the gap. And one more thing worth knowing. Social Security asks you to estimate your expected earnings for the year when you're collecting benefits under full retirement age, and it uses that estimate to plan your withholding in advance. If your actual earnings come in higher than what you reported, you may end up with an overpayment that gets recovered later, which is its own headache, if your earnings come in lower. Any extra amount withheld gets sorted out and returned to you. Either way, the more accurate your estimate, the smoother this whole process feels. So here are 3 things to actually do this week if you're under full retirement age and working while collecting Social Security. First, confirm your exact full retirement age using your birth year, because it determines which of the 2 2026 limits applies to you and whether this rule even affects you this year at all. Second, estimate your 2026 earnings now, not in December, and report that estimate to Social Security so the withholding gets spread out predictably instead of hitting you all at once as a surprise or turning into an overpayment you have to pay back later. Third, if you're close to the limit, run the numbers on both choices, working the extra hours versus not, using your actual income because that withheld money isn't truly lost. But the timing of when you get it back absolutely matters for your budget today, not just for your budget 10 years from now. It's worth stepping back for a second and asking why this rule exists at all. Because it can feel like Social Security is punishing you for working. That's not really the intent. The earnings test was built around an older idea of retirement, one where being retired mostly meant you'd stopped earning a paycheck. It was never designed with someone like Patricia or Robert in mind, people who are healthy, capable, and choosing to stay in the workforce well past the age when they first claimed benefits. Lawmakers know this. There have been ongoing proposals in Congress to loosen or even eliminate the earnings test altogether, precisely because more people are working later in life than the rule ever anticipated. Nothing has changed yet, so the 2026 numbers we just walked through are what apply to you right now, but it's a rule worth watching, because if it does change, it will change your entire calculation about whether working while collecting makes sense. For today, though, the numbers are the numbers. $24,480 if you're under full retirement age all year. $65,160 if you're reaching full retirement age sometime in 2026. And zero limit at all once you actually get there, knowing exactly which category you fall into before you accept that extra shift or sign that new consulting contract, is what turns this from a source of anxiety into just another number you plan around. If this cleared up exactly where your earnings line is for 2026, stick around. Because there's a lot more about Social Security that most people never hear about until it's too late, and I